Welcome, everybody. I am ecstatic that you are here with me today. And, well, good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are. I want to start off with some thank yous before we get going, because you never know. Some of you might not be able to hang for the whole thing, so I want to make sure that these folks get their props. First of all, Thomas Barth in Germany for SONOR, and Scott Atkins for SONOR here in Canada for doing their part to get this out to y'all. Greatly appreciated. Ed Squire and Andy Morris at Dream Symbols, likewise, for getting things happening. All of those companies have done me really well and good over the past many moons. Tim Harquail at Attack Heads and Ben Davies at Big First Sticks. Great instruments. What can I say? I love them, and I love these fellas. One of the people I want to give a hearty thank you to is Stefan Hannigan, because without him, you would not be seeing me. I'm not exactly a tech whiz person, but he told me where to put my hands and feet, and we got it together. Also, Stefan was the person who videoed what you're about to see. His assistant, Joseph Gagliardi, and as well as Graham Shaw at Knick-Knack Studios. These drums are the same drums you're about to see in my presentation. They are SONOR S Classics with a SQ1 snare drum, which is basically this very kit, with Attack Royal 2 heads on them. And the cymbals are different than this setup. They're comprised of contact energy, dark matter energy, and there's a vintage prototype right in there to listen for. So this clinic, well, first of all, I want to be perfectly honest. A lot of people are doing as live clinics. This is just that. It's as live, recorded last year, somewhere between the first and second wave in the pandemic. So we had a little breathing room, which I took full advantage of and went ahead and recorded. So I wanted to make it live then, but it was way too complicated. This presentation also, it's to let you know that I've created a Patreon page that I hope you will check out. It's got lots of goodies, transcriptions, concert footage, lessons on there. So please drop by my Patreon page, which you're gonna see advertised, oh my gosh, that dirty word, during the clinic. You know, grab yourself a nice beverage. It may be hot, warm, or cool. It may have some stimulants in it, or it may just be a pick-me-up. But grab yourself a beverage, put your feet up, relax, and as a crazy bunny and duck once said, overture, curtain lights, this is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing or nursing a part. We know every part by heart. Overture, curtain lights, this is it. We'll hit the heights, and oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it.
Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to. Well, let me introduce myself first. My name is Aubrey Dayle, and welcome to my live event. I'm glad that you are tuning in. Today, I'm going to take a little different take on this little drum clinic/workshop, because I know a lot of folks probably aren't going to be drummers, although most of you are. But for those who aren't drummers, I'll be playing a bunch of pieces of music that you can check out. And the difference is that I'm going to stop at the end of them and describe a little bit about what's on my mind while I am tracking them. It's kind of like a behind the scenes of the drummer brain, if you will. Okay. So, first things first, a little bit of business. Like everyone else out there, I too have been stricken down by this virus, and I would implore you to visit this link right here and offer up some tips so that I can, uh, you know, get some shoes for my baby, so to speak, and and pay for all this magnificence that is bestowed upon me, visually and audio. Okay, so also, please visit my Patreon page as well as my YouTube channel, Aubrey Drum Lessons, for more stuff like this. Except for this is on the fly, so please excuse any mistakes, which there'll be plenty, and grammatical errors, okay? All right. So that last piece was a song I wrote a very, very long time ago called Boogie Down One, and it has morphed and been rearranged. And that version you just heard was from a band that I work with called 13 Go, with Toronto Kim Ratcliffe and Ian D'Souza on bass, Kim on guitar. And you heard Mr. Vernon Reed in the middle of that as well. And he was kind enough to produce that record. It's 13 Go, Domestic Tranquility. That's where the song comes from. All right, so what was I thinking during that? I was trying really hard just to get a groove. Really, that's about it. The groove I had on the stack cymbals here is I kind of was trying to emulate, let's see if I can do this. We'll see. A groove that I heard on Chicory Electric Band, and I think the song's called, wow, I should have looked that up. I think it's Cool Weasel Boogie. I know I'm going to get a pile of comments. No, it's this. What's wrong with you? But I tried. But here's the groove. See if I can figure it out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so like that is the vibe of the thing. Just this sort of, except for he's not using a stack cymbal, he's using a hi-hat and the ride cymbal, so it sounds a lot more mellow than that. But essentially, that's the feel. So I wanted to get that kind of independence and that kind of, I guess, free-feeling driving right hand against the groove. So that's where I came up with. That kind of free feel against the funk that I played with the bass line. That's the first thing I wanted to kind of draw your attention to. That's during, of course, the melody, the A section of the melody. In the B section, I go into a very straightforward quarter note on the ride cymbal, and the hi-hat is opened up on 2 and 4. That kind of feel. Okay, so those are really the two main things that I thought about during that piece. Other than that, just had to orchestrate around the ensemble shots and, you know, trying to keep it funky. That's about it. Okay, so this next piece of music is an African piece, and it is called Second Time Around. And it kind of combines a variety of grooves. a straightforward African groove, and some Afro-Cuban stuff. So let me play it first, and then we'll talk about it. All right, here we go. Alafie, Alafie, Alafie. Okay, so yeah, that piece is uh, kind of intense. Got to definitely keep your focus. A couple of things to think about in that. It's an African piece, and the groove itself is by someone named
Altaf Moto.
who lives here in Toronto, as a matter of fact. And it's in 6/8, as you probably figured out. And it's based on the 6/8 African clave. Okay, so if you're in 6, that clave would be like this. That's how it's outlined. But then it's embellished, so that sounds like this. So a couple of notes are added. Now what I do is I put the 2 against it. Like that. The difference is now that uh, uh, beat that comes on 1 and 4, I do that with my hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. And I take out one of the notes. So that one note has been taken out of the overall clave. By the way, if you do join my Patreon page, I'm going to have a printout of these so that you'll be able to follow along as well. Okay, so the rest of the groove is really like a pattern that emulates a large drum ensemble. That's the idea of all the toms that are inside that. So the whole groove then will sound like this. The snare drum is on 1, and that really sort of locks in the groove. That's one of the parts about it I like the most. So yeah,
Out of Moto.
he's here in Toronto. I'm not sure we can find him, but I guess if you Google him, you'll be able to check out his stuff. Okay, the other groove that is happening in that are Afro-Cuban grooves that are pretty straightforward. The first African-Cuban groove is based on a linear pattern between the hi-hat and the snare drum. And then the cascara actually is the same rhythm as the African 6/8 clave, which I'm playing on one of the tom rims. So let's see if I can play the 2 of those together. Like that. So it gives this really cool effect. It sounds like there's 2 drummers playing. He then adds the bass drum to it. The bass drum, I believe, is on 3. Yeah, it's on 3. Then what I do is I took the first note of the cascara and put it on the floor tom. So it's very layered. The way I think of it in my mind is as one whole thing. I don't really listen to each part of it because that would be distracting. In fact, doing what I just did, which is building it up part by part, is good practice. Quite hard to do, actually. The third Afro-Cuban groove that I do in this, again, is based on that 6/8 clave, and I put an ostinato, a bass drum ostinato against it in 6/8. So that's... And I'm using the left hand. The left or right hand will follow the clave and embellish it. So I'm really thinking a lot more about locking the driving hand with the hi-hat than I am anything else. I'm not thinking a whole lot about the bass drum. It's kind of a feeling. The ostinato becomes more of a feeling after a while. At first, you definitely have to work it out and get accustomed to playing rhythms against it. But essentially, I'm focused more about hooking my left hand or right hand up with the hi-hat. The, the other hand really plays loose, almost fill-like accents based on that 6/8 clave. Like that. So those are the three main grooves. One last aspect of this tune, this is one of the more involved tunes that I'm going to play today, is something I got off of the great Virgil Donati. And first you take a 7-note grouping. Okay, let me just move this out a little bit. 7-note grouping, which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's divided up 3, 4. Then what if we were to take that grouping and place it on the triplet grid? That's going to sound like this. Okay, so it causes an interesting displaced feeling because you're in 7, but I'm counting in 4/4. So it kind of moves the phrase. It moves it by 1/8 note in this case, right? So then if I mark the quarter note on on any cymbal, I'm going to use the stacks for this. It really gives it a cool feel. Right, so that's 4 bars of that with a little fill at the end. And so the 4/4 is happening on the stacks, but this movement's happening underneath. What I did in this tune is I took my left foot and put it on the hi-hat, so it makes it even more displaced. And that happens twice in the piece, that part where things are very, very frenetic. Okay? So those are the 4 different aspects of that tune. In general, you know, I just try to keep that piece as light as I can and try to keep the balance between the toms and the feet as balanced as I can so that it feels natural. It feels like it's more than one drummer playing. That's the overall effect. Okay, so moving down the road, one day I was perusing some online comments about someone who was told to practice at 40 BPM. And there were a variety of answers in this column. Many of them were quite negative, surprisingly, where there were drummers who were like, I don't know why I'd want to practice down there. I don't know, I never play like that. What's the use of that? I think it's just better to get a good feel. Who needs to count? I mean, why? And I was really surprised at that because, you know, I was lucky enough to have studied with a fantastic drummer up in Toronto by the name of Jim Blackley, and that was lesson number 1. He goes, all right, he was Scottish. I'm not going to do a Scottish accent for you because it's terrible. I have an Irish friend here who might be able to do something, but maybe not. Anyways, first lesson, he was like, all right, man, I'm going to put this at 40, and I want you to play the quarter note. And I'd been playing for quite a while at this point. You know, I'd actually had a degree already. I graduated from McGill University, Bachelor of Music. And I was terrible at it. I could barely get each note. It was a mess. And I was like, okay, we have some growth to do. And we went through the whole process of learning how to play the swing at 40 and making it feel natural. And I think it's a really important thing to do. So I wrote a piece of music that I like to practice with, and it's at 40 BPM, a very slow blues called The Man on the Ground. And the trick with it is to never stop subdividing, like never stop subdividing. because the moment you do, the likelihood is you're going to either speed up or slow down or something, because the margin of error is quite large. Something else I'm going to do in this event is I'm going to be switching up some of the instruments on my drum set, some of the parts of the drum set, like I would do in the studio. So sometimes, you know, a producer might ask you, or if it's your music, you might want a more gentle sound on certain tunes, or a different sound, let's say. So on this one, I'm going to use different hi-hats. These were Dream Contact 12-inch hats. And they're super, super bright, as you noticed. And these are Dream Energy on top, Energy on the bottom, and Dark Matter on top. Let me just switch that over. So that's going to give a softer hi-hat sound. I'll do this as quickly as possible. Yeah, in the studio, often you try to, in fact, today I'm not going to get too crazy with, you know, damping the toms or tooting the toms, but I will change out a couple of cymbals at least, and I think I'm going to change out a snare drum as well. And this cymbal is a prototype. This goes back to the early days of Dream. And I was fortunate enough to actually get this from Andy Morris, who is the owner of Dream, the brainchild. It's a prototype type ride, and I love it. And you're about to witness the vibe that it has. All right, so this is the man on the ground. The key here is to keep counting. It's very, very slow. And again, if you are interested to practice along with it, I will post it on Patreon, and you'll be able to download it if you become a member. All right, here it goes.
Today, you just can't slow down. The car lets you out. You get your way. You have lots to tout. Sitting beside the front door, someone real dark, not smart. The man on the ground.
All right.
We like that. We like that.
The audience of two.
We like that.
You know, I guess in this pandemic world, we're going to have to get used to playing like this with minimal audiences, but that's all right. We're going to play anyways. So on that piece, yeah, it was all about, you know, keeping that flow regardless of how slow it is. And I tried my best to subdivide my fills, even the ones that seem to go over the bar line or, you know, change, you know, grids into tuplet grids sometimes. You know, I kept that that subdivision going in my head. In fact, I was counting 1 triplet, and triplet, 2 triplet, and triplet, 3 triplet, and triplet, 4 triplet, and triplet, 1. So I'm actually counting in like 16th note triplets rather than 8th note triplets. Like the more notes you can put in between each of the beats, the more likely you're going to be accurate. All right. Now the next piece, forgive me, I'm going to change my hi-hat back. The next piece is an up-tempo swing. And on an up-tempo swing, well, in fact, it's not just up-tempo. It's up-tempo that goes between like a really fast swing and it goes to halftime, you know, in the arrangement. This is a piece I wrote, you know, about 10,000 years ago. The pyramids had just been built. and very old song. And this also has been arranged differently over the years. This one you can find it on a record called Jewel. And it features Rich Brown on bass for those in Canada and abroad, the fabulous Rich Brown, the fabulous Robbie Botos, another monster from Canada, and the incomparable Richard Underhill. Some of the greatest musicians around, and my friends as well. So this particular arrangement, though, was done by Kim Ratcliffe and the wonderful Calvin Jones from New York City. So the thing to really understand, the main thing that I think about in playing upswing is trying to keep your driving hand, whether it be your left or right, relaxed, and trying to articulate the 3 notes, especially the last one. That's a tough one to get, because as you start playing it longer and longer, you get more and more tired. No matter how long you've been playing, you feel it. So you need periods of rest. Those rest periods are very, very short. So one way might be to go like that, or just change the beat around slightly. Those little breaks where I switch the rhythm from, you know, well, let's say 8th note to 2/16, reverse it 2/16 to 8th note. That's not really what's happening. It's more like quarter notes to 2/8, because it's usually in half time, for those who understand that. The other thing is that there's a big difference between playing very fast swing as opposed to playing medium or slow swing. At a slow swing, you're going to really articulate the triplet. Like that. At a fast swing, now we're trying to think slower. We're thinking half as fast, although our hand is playing twice as fast. And it's really like a quarter note and 2/8 in cut time, in 2/2. And as was explained to me by John Riley, it's a quite simple reality that straightening of the ride pattern is to help the flow of the soloist. Because at that tempo, most soloists will be pretty much soloing in straight 8s in cut time. So that's the real reason for that. Plus, it'd be really hard to get a smooth, relaxed swing at that speed at a really high tempo with a triplet put in there. Although I've heard some drummers, like Elvin Jones, sort of infer that at times when they're playing fast. But this one is extremely fast, so I have no choice. All right, and otherwise, all my comping, I think, pretty much half time. You know, I don't try to fill up my content with a ton of notes. There are some patterns that help you go over the line, over the bar line. They're like paradiddle-diddle-like patterns that can help ease the stress of the ride pattern itself, and they also sound quite musical. All right, so here is This Life. I know I said I was going to, you know, describe these things after I play them, but well, all right, maybe I lied a little bit. I did that one before I played it. Okay, here we go. This Life. All right, so that's This Life. And yep, definitely worked up a sweat. Definitely. High Speed Mania. The next song, I'm going to play it first, is called Dishonest. It's actually not called Dishonest. That's called, what's that like? You get in a fugue state. When you play that fast, you kind of leave the planet for a minute. And it's hard to think where you are exactly. This next song is called To Be Honest, not This Honest. I'm back now. Okay? I'm not in my fugue state. All right. So I'm going to play this and then I'll talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it first. Here we go. To Be Honest. to be honest, you have to live outside the law. Sometimes I think that's how some politicians think. They're convinced of it. Some politicians. Some of them. So, on that piece, there's a couple of parts that are kind of interesting. There's one section that is really, it's inspired by David Garibaldi. And it's a very rudimental section. And it displaces the beat very, very, like a lot. But at the same time, you can feel the groove throughout, nonetheless. So of course, we're in 4/4 time. And this rudiment, or the way he interpreted this rudiment, is to play a paradiddle diddle plus one note. All right, so a paradiddle diddle plus one note without a break. But it's a you play two paradiddles before the pattern repeats. And at the end, paradiddle diddles, that is. And at the end of the paradiddle diddle on the second one, he'll play that extra bass drum note and then play the beginning of the next section. Like that. So, and what really sets it off is that you play an accent right there. So it gives you the feeling of an elongated backbeat. And of course, you gotta count in 4/4 while you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you play that, you got to keep counting. I counted 16th notes because it's the only way I'm going to keep from falling apart, quite frankly. And that's the way that is. Otherwise, the piece is really, honestly, it's just being able to orchestrate it and to pay attention to the melody. You could just play a groove through all of that, but the song's written by Kim Ratcliffe, and we did it in a project called On Topic. And when he brought the song to me, I thought, well, I probably played it through as a groove first. And then bit by bit, I started to orchestrate different little sections of it, including putting in that Garibaldi concept. And that's pretty much what I'm thinking about during that. Otherwise, there's another thing that's very Garibaldi-esque is the groove off the top. That whole thing, if you check out his book, Future Sounds, he gives a very clear outline as to how to work that up. That hand pattern is something he does a lot, and a lot of his famous Tower of Power grooves are outgrowths of that. Okay, I'm going to move on really quickly to another piece of music that I wrote another, many, many, many moons ago called Odd, and I was really inspired by Frank Zappa on this one. I had just learnt the Black Page, so this is going back about 12 years, and I decided to try to write a piece of music, not as hard as that, but a piece that would incorporate some of the aspects of that. And I'm going to change the ride cymbal out on this because I want a much more punchier, brighter sound on the ride cymbal. So let me just take a second and do that. Yes?
Do you need water or anything?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Well, while you change it out, I'll grab you some.
Is there some handy?
I'll find out.
So I also want to thank my man Joseph Gagliardi for coming out and lending his visual aid to this whole thing. This is awesome. And by the way, look out for him. Not only will he be making movies, which I believe is in his path, but he's a hell of a drummer too. So there's that. All right. Okay, so that piece, uh, like I said, was inspired by Frank Zappa. So there's a couple things to think about in that. Is that it's super important to make sure you count during that, which is pretty hard to do. You know, the main body, the main groove is two groups of two bars of 5/8 and a bar of 3/16, right? So that feel is like this. All right, so let's see if I can count and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, so you really got to be able to do that, regardless of how dense your groove might be, because it's super, super easy to, slip up. It's easy to fall off the rails in odd time signatures like that. The other thing to think about in this is there are, in the sort of orchestral sections that I wrote, there are groups of 5, particularly this fill, which goes, it's a group of 7, so it's a septuplet that runs into a 5-tuplet, that, septuplet that goes into 60th note triplets, then it goes to a quintuplet, down to 1. So it's like 7, 6, 5, 1. That's how that works. So it's like that. And that theme reoccurs during that middle section, as you probably noticed. It kind of is a motive that that keeps coming back. So those you have to work on. I was talking to Graham Shaw here at Knick Knack Studios, who's also a great drummer. Yay, Graham. And we were talking about practicing those, like Frank Zappa did with his groups. And I remember seeing an interview with a bunch of their drummers. You may have seen this on YouTube. And Chad Wackerman had made an interesting point in that they would take a piece of music like that and practice for long periods of time. Who knows, maybe hours, until it felt super, super comfortable, like they were playing in 4. So every time you would get to that part of the song, it's like your muscle memory would sort of lock into these sections, and suddenly a very complex thing feels a little more simple. So one of the ways that I worked on septuplets and quintuplets is just to try going between the two. 16th notes. And then groups of 7. Of course, it's best to practice that with a metronome, just to triple check that things are locked and not speeding up or slowing down. It's very challenging. And otherwise, the biggest takeaway of that, like I said, is being able to count in odd meters. That's what's on my mind the most, even while I'm soloing. And that is tricky. So for instance, in the solo section, it's again 1 bar of 5, 4, and then a bar of 3/16. So it's like, and if you come off that train while you're soloing, it's hard to get back on. Sometimes you can get back on, but it's definitely hard to get back on. So the last piece I want to do today, again, before we do that, please make sure to go check out the tip link, right, to help buy my baby some new shoes and pay for all this. These are very harrowing times for artists, and every artist, I'm sure, will tell you the same thing. And if you are fellow artists, we got to support each other. We got to support each other. I really want to thank Schmooze It. Did I do that right? Schmooze It?
Beautiful.
Schmooze It. It's very hard for me to say. The company with Stefan Hannigan, you can look him up. Is it stefanhannigan.com?
Yeah.
StephenHannigan.com.
Just
To get,
Stephen.com.
what was that?
Stephen.com.
Stephen.com. I'm sorry, Stephen.com. To book him for video, for audio, and quiet as it's kept, he's an incredible Irish musician. So he does those gigs too. Okay. So, and this is the great Knick Knack Studios. Graham Shaw, that's Shaw Percussion. So either one of those, you can probably look him up if you want to come out here and do some tracking. And I keep forgetting to say this, but I am also hoping that artists will get in touch with me so that I can lay some drums down on your music. Okay, I like to play all styles. Today we're doing a lot of instrumental stuff because hey, it's very drummy, right? But I'll lay it down if that's what's called for as well. All right, so you can get me at DM me at myidmusic on Instagram. You can follow me at Aubrey Drum Lessons on YouTube. Please check that out. Where you can also go and check out my Patreon page at this link. And let's see. I think I've done a lot of plugging, haven't I? But yeah, so we gotta support each other, get through this pandemic, keep music flowing, keep theaters going, keep recording studios going, keep drummers going. We gotta support each other, all right? So this last piece of music is called Hopscotch, and it's written by one of my children, Aubrey Dayle, and the great Devontae Grubbs, fantastic rapper. And yeah, this one is, I'm focusing on a little bit of hip hop on this one. All right, so let's check it out. This is Hopscotch. All right. So honestly, the thing I think about the most on that is keeping a driving groove. And it's challenging playing with, lo-fi hip-hop because like Jay Dilla, this is music that is not quantized. It's played in this case, it was a 404. That's what Kai used. And you're playing along with samples that are compiled. So what I would do is, seeing that the feel is going to be kind of rubbery yet funky, which gives it that real warm feel and that real energy, is I would always try to aim for the backbeat and try to get a feel for when it moves. So sometimes I'd have to kind of lay back, And one of the ways that I think of doing that is playing like a flam. So I'm playing a flam against the hi-hat, which puts the snare drum just slightly later. I mean, it's very subtle. And I try to do that by listening and feeling where where the snare drum's going to land in the track. A challenge to do. But I mean, the overall attitude of this groove, anyways, lo-fi hip hop is to be a little dirty, if so to speak. It's not crisp and clean. I remember, when I started to practice this, Kai would come in and go, "Nah, it's a little too clean, Dad." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I see. All right. Yes, you can never stop learning." It's like that. So once again, thanks so much for coming by my little live event here. And I hope to do a lot more of these, with your help and your support. I hope you enjoyed these tracks. Like I said, please go to Patreons. There's going to be some goodies there that will accompany this event. And honestly, I will see you all next time. Thanks again.
Check. No, I got sound. Yeah. Now this part's live. Wow. I got so many cool responses in the comments. I had a great time hanging with you. Last one I saw, Bob from Banye. What's up, Bob? Oh my God. Thanks for checking in. Man, it was, I wish you guys could all have been in a big room that we could hang and, go for a drink or a sandwich, or like Will Calhoun said, go for a fish sandwich somewhere. I appreciate all you from all over the world, my American friends, my European friends, my Asian friends for checking in. I want to thank again Dream Cymbals and Sonar Drums. I got a lot of comments about the sound of the drums. And yeah, Sonar S Classics, plus the great work of Graham Shaw at Knick Knack Studios. I think he really captured the essence of this kit. Also want to mention with Dream Cymbals, I did not get a chance to get the new cymbals on that recording. That was done pre the release of Dream's Dark Matter Bliss line. Extra thin crashes here and right I have set up. So go to the Dream site, and I actually demo a bunch of ride cymbals and crash cymbals from this new line. And yeah, they're pretty tasty. Lastly, just wanted to put my little 2 cents out there. I got my vaccine last week, and I get my second one in a couple of weeks. And I encourage everybody, get vaccinated all over the world so that we can get out of this mess, and all the drummers out there can get back to gigging. I know I'm dying to actually play live. I don't know about you, but I'm dying to. So I'm going to sign off now. Thanks to everybody. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Andy, Tim, and Ben. I appreciate you all. Thanks, everybody. Take